there, metal and heavy music fans. This is Chris with MetalTrenches.com, and it's time for another episode of Trench Talk. Today I'm talking to Poison Wind, a US-based band that was formed during the quarantine. It was formed by Brian from Cultic and The Owls Are Not What They Seem. He laid down the drum tracks and didn't tell the other members of the band who else was collaborating, so the result is an album that is pretty different. It's got doom, grind, thrash, pretty much every version of extreme music you can think of, and it really comes together a lot better than you would think for a project that was really not a cohesive band initially. Initially, this was going to be an interview with just Brian. Then he decided to invite the whole band, and my first thought was, yikes, this is going to be really hard to edit. But it actually turned out really well, and I hope you enjoy it. On to the episode. This is Chris Dahlberg with Metal Trenches. Today I'm talking to Poison Wind, which is a band that was formed during COVID and was done all virtually. I've got 6 of the members on the call, so that's going to be a super interesting interview to see if we can figure out who's saying what at what time. So just to start, if everyone just wants to go around and say who they are, what they contributed to the album Virus, which came out back in October, I think on 31st on Halloween, and what other bands you play in.
I'll start. I'm Brian Magar. I play in Cultic, and The Owls Are Not What They Seem. I contributed to the band. I provided all the drum tracks to everyone, and I also played the vocals too. So it was drums and vocals. I'm on every song, and then I think I played bass on a couple songs and guitar on one. So, Reese.
My name's Reese. I play bass for Cultic. I contributed guitar and bass and some vocals for the song Branch Covidians.
I guess I'll go next. This is Ben Price. I did guitar on a few tracks, and I did vocals on a few tracks. I did bass on a track. Yeah, I'm in At the Graves, Foehammer, Myopic, Immiseration, a bunch of bands. But yeah.
Centrist Guillotiner.
Yes. Very important one. Textile, that's another one.
I'm Steve. I played bass on one track. I did vocals on a handful of tracks. I have a solo project that I'm working on right now called Melancholic.
Joe, I did guitar on one, a couple vocals, and I'm also in Gryla.
Chad Hammett. I'm in a band called Alter and the Bull, and I'm also in Black Humble, as well as a band that hasn't released anything yet called Pagan Youth.
Awesome.
And I did some guitars and vocals on the Poison Wind project.
Cool. So we got a very big crew here. I guess the best way to start this off would probably be to have Brian talk about how this started. I know you and I talked about this when I saw you briefly over the summer, and you told me that you were kind of throwing stuff around at people and that nobody knew who was in the band at that time. So how did that work, and how did you kind of come up with the idea?
I came up with the idea. I had lost my job. I had all this time on my hands. So I was just sitting around being pissed off at the world, being pissed off at what was going on with the COVID thing, Donald Trump, his administration. And I just felt like I wanted to put something together that was creative, that it just addressed it. And as far as the idea behind doing a quarantine band, I wanted to work with other people, but no one could leave anyway, So this was a great opportunity for all of us to work with people that we normally wouldn't. And I just thought that was a cool idea at the time. Still do. It was awesome. It was I would never get a chance to work with, somebody outside of this environment. So, yeah. That's how it was formed. That's the idea behind it. The way that it worked is I provided all the drum track, and people just recorded. I gave each person a track. They recorded guitar or bass over top of the drum tracks, and then they would send it back, and then I would just flop it around. So I would have an idea for this person's probably has played in a death metal band, so I'm gonna give them the death metal track or whatever. The other caveat was I didn't specify a genre. I just kind of assumed that I would get certain things back.
And that's cool because I feel like even though it's different genres on almost every song, or it doesn't stay in one place for too long, it feels like a cohesive album. It doesn't seem like what you would think of as like a split project or something like that, where everything just sounds like a random bunch of songs. Like it weirdly kind of works together.
Yeah.
So everyone else, like, what did you think of this when you were provided? How did you contribute? And were you curious about who was in the band? Did you not care? Did you just kind of say, okay, we're just gonna do whatever we're gonna do?
I was curious right off the bat. I was like, when Brian shot the idea to me, he was like, I'm going to do this project with a bunch of other people. And I first said, who? And he was like, I'm keeping that a secret. I thought it kept it interesting, but at the same time, I had faith that it was going to be pretty rad musicians that he would choose for it.
Yeah, I had faith it would be cool. It was just kind of a good experience to I don't know, not have that knowledge and just I don't know, just focus on the canvas that he provided with the drum tracks and stuff. I don't know. I think it worked out pretty well.
It really did. It was really different to start off with just a blank drum file to be like, ooh, what am I going to do with this? This is really interesting to have to figure that out from that perspective, because I'm used to writing it based on, well, I'm going to start with this piano.
My intent was to deliberately give Brian something that he wasn't expecting. I've been, on the side playing a lot of slide blues guitar. And so I was like, all right, so he threw me some doom drums because he knows I'm in a doom band. What if I throw some slide blues guitar on this thing and send it back? I wonder if he'll be into it or not. And so I was just kind of trying to throw curveballs at first. Then when I was getting tracks with everybody else's work on it, I was like, oh man, this everything I've heard so far is sick. And so I kind of just followed suit instead of trying to be the oddball out,
Yeah, I was excited from the very start. And then as I heard the songs develop, I got way more into it each time. It was great just hearing it develop, and not knowing who was doing what was really interesting, and having to wait and find out.
It was a good
twist on an idea.
Yeah, it was like a good vibe. It was like a good excuse to try new stuff too. Because just, I don't know, it's like there's no real rules, it felt like. So it's not like an established band any of us had. So it's just I don't know, I made up some weird-ass tunings with, strings that were out of tune. I don't know, it was fun.
Do you think the sound would have changed had he told you who was involved in it, since obviously a lot of you guys are local-ish to Baltimore, PA, and know each other to some degree?
Not for me. I'm over in Pittsburgh, so a lot of these guys I've never actually met in person. I think a few of you I may have met at some Baltimore festivals and whatnot, but I'm kind of an outsider on that Balti scene. So for me, I don't know that it would have necessarily made a difference, because I'm still not familiar with all of you guys as a band. I've been doing some research since now I know who's in it and who you play with. I've been checking out all you guys' work on the outside, but yeah, I don't know that it would have made much of a difference.
So how many pass-throughs did this go through, Brian? How much pieces did you get back and forth, and then how long did it take to piece together?
It would depend on the song. Some of the songs I had, I mean, they drastically changed, from the initial track to the final track, or to the final product. So some of them, like Branch Covidians, that required everyone to be on it. Everyone did vocals, everyone did something on that song. But there were other songs that, it was maybe 3 or 4 people threw me a track. I think that Broken World is 3 of us. So it varied. But how long did it take? A couple months to put everything together?
Yeah.
I've lost track of time. So,
time doesn't exist.
I mean, we
with
were
COVID.
working pretty fast. I mean, it was, there was no one drug their feet on anything. As soon as I'd send something out, I'd get something back in, a week tops. I mean, it was great. Everything just kind of fell into line right to the very end. So
I think with everything going on, everybody was pretty anxious just to work on something, musical at that time. So
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So you've got a little bit of everything in there, it seems like. There's pretty much every genre of extreme music, and there's definitely Godflesh influence, that kind of stuff. Now, you said that your drum tracks were built based on kind of what all of these guys are good at. Did you think of specific band influences, or, any of the other guys, did you have specific influences in mind to these drum tracks, or were you kind of just we're going to figure out what works and just go with it?
I kind of... Like some of the drum tracks I specifically programmed for certain people, because I knew that Ben like Godflesh kind of stuff. So the drums that I provided for him initially were definitely like Godflesh drums.
Yeah, I definitely got that vibe.
Yeah. Some of them I just kind of, this person could probably work with this, that kind of thing. Like Chad said, I knew we played in a Doom band, so I gave him a slower paced song. I gave Bobby played in multiple death metal bands, so I gave him something that was, a death metal, like death grind song. And Reese, thrash metal. Joe, I gave him a black metal. Yeah, I mean, it was all pretty much tailored.
Leaning to people's strengths.
Well, not necessarily people's strengths, but what I know that you were familiar with.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
I remember just asking for the slowest drum track that you had.
What's that?
I remember asking for the slowest track that you had.
Yeah.
Do you think you would try to go, if you did another album from this, would you go to stuff that you don't think people would? Like, all right, we've already done what you guys are familiar with, and you came up with this. Now let's throw you a complete curveball if we do a follow-up record at some point.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be fun to do something that was like very genre specific. Like, see what would happen in that direction. I don't know.
Would we have to go back into quarantine to make it work?
Yeah. It looks like it's heading there again, right?
Yeah.
Philly shut down.
I was gonna say, when did we leave?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, we still can't do shows, so I guess this is still like the next best thing, right? You've got streaming shows and you can record music. Would you guys do a streamed performance, or would that be a giant clusterfuck with like internet connections and stuff that would just totally bomb?
It'd be impossible.
I feel like we could pull it off if we pre-recorded it, but like doing it live, that's the amount of latency, it just wouldn't work.
You could pre-record and just lip sync to it.
Yeah.
do the pop music route. So I like that everybody contributed vocals to the first track. Was that kind of almost like a introduce to all the members kind of deal, to have everybody doing some kind of vocal role in that?
I guess. I mean, it just lent itself to the lyrics I wrote, to have that kind of back and forth ping pong thing.
It adds a lot of dynamic wise too, with all the different layered vocals as well. So just sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gang vocals at the end of that track are sick.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of what I was expecting just from that. I was like, maybe it's going to be a grind album or, like a punk album. And then you throw me like this super slow, like Godflesh style track right after that. And I'm like, nope, we're going everywhere.
Yeah, there's like I said, all different genres in terms of extreme music. There's just, everything in there.
I think that's what I like about the album the most, is that there's not a single boring part of it. Like, it's, upon my first listen, I had no idea what to expect next because I hadn't heard all the songs, even though I'd heard a couple. The ones I worked on, it was like the next track was always a curveball, and I always kind of I like that a lot. Yeah.
And obviously, a lot of that comes from the fact that all of us play in different style bands too, as well. So
when I first listened to the whole thing, it kept me really interested to see what was going to happen next with the next tracks, because like you said with that Godflesh kind of intro with the next song, like it kept it interesting throughout the whole listen.
Yeah, there's a consistency to like the recording quality too. How did you do extra production tricks after Brian to make it kind of fit within an overall sound, or is it just as is?
I think that it sounds the same because I compiled the finals on it. So whenever I would get tracks back, like some people did a lot of work with their initial tracks, but in the end, I was putting it all together and mastered it and all that stuff. So
because it actually sounds like an album. When you first told me about the idea, I was worried it would sound like like a live in studio kind of thing where everybody's pieces sound a little different and then they're all together and you're like, you can tell from one song to the next that it's truly different people.
Oh, yeah.
What's the power of post-production? Hell yeah.
Everyone was really consistent on their sound too. So whenever I get something in, I kind of knew where it was going to sit, if that makes sense.
I think the drum tracks helped to give it like a core too. That was all like cohesive.
Yeah, for sure. I'd agree with that.
Yeah, it's the same kit. It's a digital kit. Everything's I didn't mix that up or anything.
What would you guys say, what do each of you have as like specific influences on the songs you worked on? Is there anything in particular that comes to mind? Any bands you were trying to channel as you were putting this together?
I was listening to a lot of anarcho-punk because I was pissed off about the government handling of everything. So I totally just came up with a simple D-beat kind of song.
Like I said, I was listening to a lot of old blues stuff. So Sunhouse, Bucka White, he sent me some drums, and the song didn't turn out as the the slide guitar being the main line, which is fine, but it's there, you can hear it. So that was my main influence with what I sent back, was just, late 1920s, early 30s blues.
And that's such a
I
cool
really like
sound.
that. Yeah, I love that song. That's such a dynamic song on the album.
Yeah, as soon as I got your track back, Chad, I knew immediately that this was going to be a weird album. I was like, this is going to be really weird because, like, the first things I got back, I think, were, a thrash song and then that. And I was like, oh, wow, this is going to be weird. Like, how's this going to, get together? So,
He's like, band over.
I honestly expected you to send it back and be like, hey, man, can we get some distortion on this? Like, what are you doing?
So are all of you still able to practice with your main bands right now with how the year has gone, or how has that worked out?
No, definitely not. Like, I luckily have like 2 solo projects, so I've been able to do that a bit. But like, yeah, like factors involved with COVID and outside of COVID have kind of, put a hold on most of my projects. So it's been rough.
Yeah, I just have the solo project, so it hasn't really changed too much for me. If anything, it's given me a little more time to work on things, a little more motivation.
Yeah, so mine are practicing, but a lot of just doing home projects and solo stuff.
I live with our drummer in Cultic, so we've been able to practice, but Al's has not. So.
Yeah, I'm down 2 bands, but Alter and the Bull still gets together like once a week because it's a 2-piece, so we can keep distance and still play. The band that I have, Pagan Youth, with 4 other guys, we practice in like a jail cell sized room, and I sing, and I can't sing with a mask on. They've continued to play, but I've bowed out for the time being because there's no safe way for me to be in that space with them. Unless we find a bigger room, it's probably going to stay that way for a while.
Yeah, those are definitely tough conditions to be in. I mean, when do you guys think any of that will be back to normal to even start getting together with your full band? I feel like I know there are vaccines talks and stuff like that right now, but it still seems like forever until we'll get back to shows or even just bands seeing each other.
It's definitely a weird concept, starting a project or a band regardless without any prospects of ever playing a show live. It's definitely a weird concept, what I mean? Fun thing to record a lot, but it's just so strange because a lot of times that's your main way of promoting and telling people about your band and getting people to know about your band is seeing them live. You know what I mean? So it's just so strange, the concept of getting a big band together at a time where there's no prospects of shows anytime soon. But in terms of recording albums like this, it works though.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the one kind of positive kind of thing you can do. It's like you don't have to worry about playing live with the music you're creating, so you can kind of like do weirder stuff. So I don't know.
Just go crazy in the studio recording wise. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, to answer your question, I can't imagine, playing shows, going to shows for, 6 months to a year. I mean, I feel like even if there is a vaccine, there's going to be a lot of people that are against it or not into it. So I don't know, like the thought of going to a show for me right now is like terrifying, just to be around a shitload of drunk strangers making bad decisions. I mean, usually that sounds fun to me, but right now it just really doesn't.
I think it's gonna be like more like 4 years. I'm a fucking pessimist, but like, I think it's gonna be.
You guys are gonna put out like 10 records if that's the case.
Yeah, I think a year is being hopeful.
Yeah, because I mean, even if they come out with this vaccine, like I don't know, they're already talking that people aren't even going to be able to get it for a year and a half. So, and then on top of that, people aren't going to take it. Shit's going to keep going around.
I'm trying to be an optimist because I want to see you all up in Whitehall next year.
Oh yeah, I know, dude.
I'm just staying optimistic for that.
Yeah.
Shadowwood's be most realistic. I mean, it is outdoors. It's easier to be spaced out.
Yeah.
Just have people spread out through the woods.
What's that?
Just have everybody else spread out through the woods, like 5 feet apart throughout the woods. Just throughout the campground.
Yeah, everyone around their respective fire. Just don't come to my fire.
Stay away from my fire.
What do you think about bands that are kind of still trying to do incognito shows and stuff right now? I mean, to me it seems kind of selfish, and I've seen cases where there's bands defending it. There's a couple bands in Europe that have been doing like underground shows in Italy and stuff, and I'm like, sounds like a spreader event.
Damn.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
seems like a lot of bands overseas are doing shows. Like I remember it wasn't too long ago. I saw pictures of a concert in the Czech Republic, and it was like 500,000-600,000 people deep, and I was like, how are they
Damn.
doing that right now? Like, I mean, it's crazy. I don't know. I mean, I guess like Chad said, I wouldn't go to it.
Just write music. Just write an album. God damn. You know what I mean? It's not playing shows, but you're in a band, you make music. Just make music. Stay at home and write an album.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I guess if you can't practice, you can't practice or get together. But I don't know. I mean,
Yeah. Having
Well,
a show right now is just like the worst thing you can do. It's like I don't know. It's a terrible look, and it's like reprehensible. Like you're putting people in danger. Like I don't know. Like just don't do it.
Yeah, it's just super irresponsible.
Yeah, it's the projects I have that don't have home recording tech, like the tech to do home recording and file sharing and stuff like we all did. We all have our home studios and whatnot, but not all of the members of all of my bands can do that. So, they're all itching. So some of the guys want to play New Year's Eve shows, and I'm like, absolutely the fuck not. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not that I look down on them for wanting to do it necessarily, because we all want to do it. We all want to be back on the stage and playing and seeing our friends, and everybody wants that. But right now, it's just stupid.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw that. Sorry, go ahead.
I was mad about missing the first 2 weeks. Initially, when we shut down for 2 weeks, I was like mad because I couldn't go practice with Cultic. But then it was 2 months, and
Yeah.
I think I'm itching to get back to shows, but I'm realistic. I want it to be in a way that's safe when we're able to do so. And I see it as being a local band's coming back first. Like, you're not going to see bands touring from out of state or out of country because no one's going to make any money. There's going to be reduced capacity and things like that. But it's funny now because I'm looking at all the shows that, like, Baltimore and DC would get and how many I didn't go to. And now I'm like, man, now I can't go to anything. And I'm looking back at what I should have gone to.
Yeah,
But-
I think you're going to see a lot more people capitalize on the virtual shows too. With I think Zoom is Bandcamp is doing ticketed events now, so you can just like make your own.
Cool.
Yeah, they have a streaming platform now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Is that like
one
a
of the first jobs
counterpoint
that I
to
wo-
Facebook shutting everything down?
What's that?
Is that like a counterpoint to Facebook basically being like, you can't do live shows, you can't make money off of this?
I don't know. Yeah, there's a couple of them popping up. I think that Zoom is doing ticketed shows too, and then there's Streamlabs and all these like little things popping up all over the place.
But you still think that wouldn't be realistic for you guys, just because it would be too crazy?
It would. Yeah, I wouldn't see how that could work.
Yeah, everybody's so spread apart, and I mean,
Yeah, it's like
I don't know.
every song.
Yeah.
I think our best case scenario would be filming a video for something, because you can always cut all the footage together and make it look like we're all either separated or in the same room or whatever. But I don't foresee us in any kind of like streamed live thing necessarily. I mean, it just seems too complicated. Not that it can't be done. It's just it just seems super complicated.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that.
We've run into like audio problems just doing this already, so
Yeah.
trying to do a show seems impossible for sure.
This is about as close as you're going to get to having us all in the same place at the same time.
And we've already got massive feedback.
Especially with how this album came together, with how we were talking about earlier, how everybody kind of just went crazy recording because they didn't really worry about having to reproduce it live. Some of the stuff might be kind of hard to reproduce in a live setting from the stuff that's in the songs on the album, just with all the layers of the stuff, of all those parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to like decide what to keep and what to get rid of, and kind of like I guess almost streamline it.
Bare bones some of the tracks.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that were playing like 4 or 5 instruments per song too. So I mean, it would be almost impossible. I mean, unless everyone learned every part.
I don't know, man. I've seen Ben play all the instruments live for his solo project.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
No pressure.
This one I was just like, oh, cool. I don't have to worry about doing that. I'm just gonna make totally different guitar and bass parts. Like,
So what's the reception been like? I've been curious. I mean, obviously, Brian, you and I know each other to some degree. Like, I've written about Owls and Cultic before, and seen some of the bands, but what's the reception been like from all the other websites and kind of like the listeners as a whole?
It's been all positive. Selling stuff has been a challenge, but all the reviews and stuff that we've had so far have been really positive. Which I wasn't surprised based off of what was presented, but I kind of figured that we would get some backlash just based off of some of like the subject matter of the song.
You think because of the political slants or kind of?
Yeah, that, and I fully expected people to be like, well, this is gimmicky or whatever, that kind of thing. So.
Well, it is and it isn't, right? So obviously the
Right.
lyrics are themed around specific things, but the instrumentation definitely not. Like that's
Yeah, and
far from a gimmick band.
Yeah, it's very serious in its approach. I mean, I wanted to stay away from like I wanted to address specific issues with it.
I think the chaotic nature of the album is strongly represents the chaotic, just what's going on right now, the chaotic nature of the times right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, Brian. I was chatting with you back while I was doing the gang vocal part for Branch Davidians, and downtown Pittsburgh was on fire. At the time, I was, a few blocks away from riots downtown, and there was SWAT and helicopters. You could hear sirens like outside while I was trying to record. I was like, "No, man, I think I'm gonna have to call it tonight. Go home."
Yeah.
And that I do feel like the album captures a lot of the angst and tension and frustration with all the fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, what a hell of a fucking year, guys.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think the environment that everyone was in definitely played into what came out on the record. Like, I know watching the song that I had developed, it just happened to come that it was about protest, and I'm in Philly where we've been protesting for multiple different things for months and months. It seems like it's never ending. So I know that definitely found its way into the recordings that I gave Brian.
It reminds me of I remember people saying stuff like, "There's no good music when you're not angry," right? So if you look at like Nine Inch Nails, you say, "Oh, Trent Reznor got over his angst and got married and all that. Now the music sucks."
Right. Yeah, it's definitely an angry album.
I like Trent Reznor's soundtrack stuff.
No, I don't disagree with you on that. It's just a different vibe.
There's always something to be angry about.
Very true. So looking ahead, how would you approach a follow-up now that you know all the players? Would you try to do more collaborations? Would you just throw it out and throw even more people into it?
Would you fire us all and get a whole new cast?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think it would be cool to I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. I really don't. I guess like what I said earlier, I think it would be cool to maybe try to do something that's like really focused. Like, okay, let's do a death metal album, or let's do a doom album, or because we all have such different backgrounds. I mean, that would be equally as unique, I think.
I'm down if you guys are.
Yeah.
Always.
Just pick a genre.
Yeah.
Porno grind.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, you guys have done, the two of you have done really weird stuff with owls. You could almost bring some of that in and just have everybody else do some of that alongside it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be really weird.
This is our Powwow Acid album.
Yeah. Actually, I think that could turn into something really bizarre. Starting on that plane, yeah. I mean, the sky's the limit. Once you go into that realm, right?
Especially with all of us doing all the home recording, we can kind of just, like I said, just go to town with whatever we record. You know what I mean? And
Right.
but like Brian was saying, I agree. I think it'd be cool to write almost maybe do an album just pursuing just one kind of concept or one kind of theme or genre. Especially with how almost each song on the album has its own kind of mood or genre, you know what I mean? Take one of the songs and just expand on that style for a whole album, you know what I mean?
Or even maybe more cross collaboration on lyrics or something like that.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, this one's definitely a very of the times album, with the subject matter and things like that. And I'm curious if you kept doing it, if you would come up with a different concept for the lyrics, or maybe explore something else that still fits the name and the idea.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, yeah. I mean, it just seems like for this album, there was no shortage of subject matter to write about. So yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Does that mean if everybody gets does that mean if the vaccine comes and it cures everything, that the band's got to break up then?
Not if we all stay hermit, then you guys can just do it anyway.
Just think of the band.
Right.
I can't go outside, I'm in a band.
I tell my wife that all the time.
Does it work?
No. No,
Yeah, so Brian, you showed me the CD earlier. Are digital and CD kind of the main formats you're focused on? I know everyone was crazy about vinyl before all this happened, but I'm guessing nobody has any money anymore for fun formats like that.
Yeah, vinyl's definitely out of the question for something like this. I mean, it's just way too expensive. So yeah, I mean, we have CDs. Actually, it's a pro package CDR. They're duplicated, not replicated. So we have those, and then we're on all the streaming platforms and Bandcamp.
Duplicated, not replicated.
Well, I mean, some people are sticklers about that. You know, they don't want CDR. You know, like they don't want to pay for that. You know.
I think it turned out fucking awesome, man. To be honest, like holding it in my hands, I think it really did turn out great.
Yeah, man. There you go.
Oh, he's
yeah,
holding it up,
yeah.
but we're not going to have video on the final product, so no one's going to know what's happening.
Oh, man.
Someone have a shirt?
Sound of a CD moving, sound of a CD moving.
when I first got that in the mail, my kids picked it up and read the back of it, and they were like, they love track 7. I don't know if I want to swear in this call, so I'm not.
Oh yeah.
And, now my kids will just constantly look at each other and go like, "What's number 7?" And then one of them will just say the full song name.
That's funny.
They love the track though. They love the whole album.
That's awesome.
That song's good for if you have a short attention span, for sure.
Yeah.
The napalm
That
death
was
approach.
my contribution right there. That was the song that I wrote. 2 seconds long.
That's what everything will be based on in the future.
The grindcore.
Just take it and
Actually,
compress
I
it.
had a lot of fun, like just because I've been doing the same thing for so long. Like like I have two main projects, and to do things like go back to play grindcore songs, it was awesome because I mean it's just not something that I do, and I think that everyone was kind of like was able to push themselves in different directions as a result of forming the project.
Yeah, well, thanks, guys. This has been cool. It's been cool just to get everyone together and probably give you a chance to talk about this crazy album that you put together. So just wanted to see if anyone has anything else they want to say about working on it or the project in general before we wrap it up.
Make some music at home. If you're stuck at home, make some music at home. If you have the ability to, just take advantage of it. I mean, write some cool music at home if you have the ability to.
Even if you don't have the ability, you can try.
Yeah, practice is instrument.
Record
Every
yourself
smart
yelling into your
phone has a
phone.
recording
Like,
on it somewhere.
yeah, I don't know. Do something.
All right, well,
I'm just
thanks,
going to
guys.
throw out there that our stuff's available at 11thkey.com and poisonwind.bandcamp.com.
Good. Shameless promo is good.
Yep. Well, yeah.
Shameless.
All right, well,
This has been fun, guys. We should all hang out again sometime.
yeah,
Definitely.
down for it.